Hey guys, so recently I did a video which was just talking about some hidden things about cross-pathing which are not written anywhere, which you might not know about. Just for a few tips on how to maximize your towers, and that's it. Received a pretty positive response, but from some of the comments, I got the impression that some people would like to look at more just what's a good choice to make in general, like regardless of if it's obvious what it does or not. And so I thought, I'm probably going to do individual tower overviews, like this is a Dart Monkey video, and then later on this is a Boomerang video and stuff like that. But I thought for now, it could be good to just jump in and quickly look at every tower, like just briefly. So yeah, we'll just jump right into it. And just looking at it. So what I'm going to basically look at here is, so with every tower, you've got like your tier 2 upgrades, which are basically just utility. They do a few things. They might add some damage or stuff like that. In some cases, they add a whole new attack, but it's like a minor attack or something. But then you get to the tier 3s, and the tier 3s change the tower completely quite often. So the Dart Monkey, for example, goes from throwing a standard dart to catapult, which lobs a ball, which has like infinite sort of lifespan. It just goes along the entire track. This one, triple shots, has three shots at once. That's a pretty huge change. Or crossbow goes from throwing a dart to shooting an actual crossbow. So these tier 3s completely change the tower, basically. They're a really big impact. And you can benefit that really big impact with your tier 2s from the other paths. So I can make my triple shot get extra rages. So anyway, that's how it works, and we'll actually just jump into it now and get an actual look at things. So we'll look at the Juggernaut first, which is kind of an interesting case. So if you're going for the top path, Juggernaut, you're going to get way more DPS out of the second upgrade, but let's just look at this quickly. So if this is the kind of thing you want to do, you want to set your Juggernaut to last on a straight path, or I could set it to first here, and that'd be much better as well. But this is a better position for me right now. I want to take stuff at the front. If I place him like next to the entrance, he's going to shoot across the track, and that's not going to help me. So it's not really a great spot. I could also set it here, set to first, shoot down there. That'd be great. But so this one, quickly. So this is pretty effective, right? And this is the kind of thing you want to do with your Juggernaut. You just want to do some widespread hits that'll thread along. You're going to miss a lot of the balloons, but that's not the point. It's not to clean up everything completely. You just want to like strip off the ceramic layer here. So if I replace this with, actually let's just place that better. Otherwise it's not too great. With a faster firing one, and I set that to last. It's kind of not doing what I want anymore. So yes, it is doing more DPS, but it's missing. It's just not working right. It keeps on failing. Not great. And this is why I kind of like to go for the bottom path, cross path for Juggernaut. This isn't an every case thing. You're going to get way more DPS out of very quick shots, but they're both good, and depending on how you use them. So straight to the triple shots. I'm not going to do a demonstration for every single tower. That'll be more on individual tower videos if I get around to that. But triple shots, so you're firing 3 darts. They already have 1 pierce. I don't feel you really get too much out of adding even more pierce to these. It's an early game tower. You don't need your darts to be piercing a whole lot. So I always go for longer range and enhanced eyesight because I want them to just deal with early camos and catch leaks early on, so having more range helps. Again, you get more DPS out of the top path, but Dart Monkeys are more for utility early on. If you're going to use them late game, you're going to have them under a village, then you get more out of them with the top path. So depends what you're doing there. Crossbow, I would always go very quick shots no matter what. this is another case where, like, technically I think you would get more DPS out of adding the pierce to it, but the crossbow fires a single bolt with higher pierce and higher damage, so you're not really gonna get max pierce out of it very often unless you position it perfectly. But if you position it perfectly, I don't think it's gonna do its job very well, because it's not gonna be in the right spot to really just keep hitting things for consistently, and that's what I really want out of my Dart Monkeys, consistency. So yeah, if I'm going bottom path, then I will always go faster firing. And a note with this, with the Crossbow Master, there is no reason to ever get pierce on the Crossbow Master. It has over 20 pierce base. You're not going to get anything out of adding like a couple pierce to that much. So never add pierce to your Crossbow Master. Boomerang Monkey, haha. So glaive ricochet. This throws a glaive which hits balloons and bounces around. Yep, hits it can hit the whole screen if you're lucky. So this one, more DPS, you're faster throwing. Fantastic. You'd probably want to go this in most cases, but personally, it depends. If I'm using my boomerangs, I generally am not using something else that pops lead, so I like to just use it to kind of hit the whole field and strip lead off everything. Long range doesn't add too much, but getting that lead popping kind of does add a lot. But yes, you get more DPS out of fast throwing. Depends what else you got. Bionic Boomerang. This is more of a like pure DPS tower. I would always go glaives on it. I don't think it's a worthwhile investment to get red hot rings on this unless you're doing some sort of special challenge. Alright, so yeah, looking at the Mob Press and the Mob Domination, these don't benefit from crosspath, so you're only looking at buffing the Kylie, and I mean the Kylie, this one's debatable. I think the glaives are probably best for this, but at the same time it's that sort of thing where like faster throwing will give you more consistency, so it depends on positioning. It's a rather tricky one. In general here, I always go faster throwing for consistency, but this depends on your other towers a lot as well. You're gonna get more out of glaives if you position it really well. It's sort of like a juggernaut. You need to hit along and then come back. So if you're not really into that positioning, then just go faster throwing. Much better. So the bomb shooter. This one, I mean, top path's all about stuns really. Like you start doing some more damage, but it's all about getting this and stunning. And for that reason alone, I would always pair this with the faster reload and the missile launcher, so you can get more stuns out more frequently, because that's what you're doing. You're using this as like a stalling tower, and so your missiles, you miss less often. And that again, like if you're missing less often, you're stunning more often. Mob Mauler. So Mob Mauler, it's for taking out mobs. It does high damage to mobs, low damage to anything else. The heavy bombs upgrade only adds 1 damage, so 1 damage to this, which does 11 damage already, is not much. It's pretty minor. It'll be more DPS, but in the long run, I always pick extra range on my bomb shooters, on my Mob Maulers, sorry. I don't care about the frag bombs. Yes, they are good. If you have grouped Moabs, then your Mob Mauler's gonna get more out of the frags, but mainly I just want the extra range, because it means I get to attack more, and more attacks means more DPS. Simply put, you're gonna get more attacks, so multiplying more attacks by 11 is greater than adding 1 to 11. Easy math. Cluster bombs. This one, so you're going to get more consistency out of faster reloads, missile launchers, but heavy bombs is big here because you're firing a lot of bombs, and all of those bombs only do 1 damage. So the heavy bombs, which adds 1 damage, is doubling your damage. Faster reload doesn't, like 20% faster, so you're getting 20% more damage. You're getting a lot more damage by doubling your damage. Simply put, yeah, I would generally always go heavy bombs just for laying out more DPS, unless you're in a position where you really need consistency, or like if you get to recursive, kind of consistency in attacking more frequently is good, but just doubling your damage is so hard to pass up. Most of the time I would always go heavy bombs. Tack Shooter. So I mean, I think the top path, these two are the best cross paths to get in general. But say, look, if we're looking at hot shots, this one adds 1 damage to the base tower. So you're probably gonna assume that adding more tacks is more DPS, but that's like, I mean, it shoots 8 tacks, and then you're adding 10 tacks, and then 12 tacks. So you're adding 50% damage. That's pretty high, adding 50% damage to this. But if you're positioning, there's not many good spots to place Tack Shooters, I find, in BTD6 yet. We need more maps that really make the Tack Shooter shine. There is some great spots, but there's just not as many as you may like. And so in that case, if you're not in a great spot, getting a lot longer range can help you hit more from like a distance, or when you attack, they go further and they can hit things further away. So that's beneficial as well. You want to go extra attacks. I mean, if you're in a great spot for it. If you're kind of not in a great spot, then you don't really want to use the Tack Shooter. But if you have to, then you do want range in that case. Pretty much though, you're going to be wanting to go 302, and if you're not in a good spot to use 302, then you're not going to use it. But this also changes once you get to the Inferno Ring, because the Inferno Ring has 60 PS base, and these add 10 each, so you're taking your PS up from 60 to 80. But the Inferno Ring has a really huge, I mean, starting at 60 PS, that's a really high number, and it starts with good radius. So if you improve that radius even more, and you're already hitting a lot, then that is fantastic. So I would kind of, if I'm stopping at tier 3 or tier 4, I'm probably going to get extra attacks. Sorry, no, if I'm stopping at tier 3, I would always, pretty much. But if I'm stopping at tier 4, it starts getting debatable. If I'm stopping at tier 5, then I'm going to go long range, depending on positioning, but most of the time I want to go long range, just because I want to hit a much larger area since I already have high PS. And, like, you're not worrying about hitting stuff with your attacks anymore. It's all about a large ring of damage, which stuff just simply has to go through. So it's much easier to hit things. So, yeah, Blade Shooter. Blade Shooter, I mean, shoots out blades instead of tacks. Each of these blades has high pierce. I would always go faster shooting because you're going to get much more out of faster shooting, both in consistency and DPS, than just adding a few more blades. The Tack Sprayer. Yep, I'm going to go faster shooting. If you're using Tack Shooter, you want faster shooting, no matter what path you're on, really. If you're on top path, you have to get it. If you're on middle path, you want it. If you're on bottom path, you want it. It's just so much better to attack faster. And especially when you get to, like, Overdrive, which it gets attack boost as well, and the Attack Zone, which gets ridiculous attack boost as well, then you're just attacking, you're attacking attacks everywhere. It's so many attacks, man. Ice Monkey. This one is interesting. So Ice Shards. I don't use Ice Shards too often, but I do use Embrittlement quite a lot. Especially Super Brittle. Super Brittle is incredible late game. I have had use for it before late game, but not so much, because you can't really afford to get so many of the other towers that shine with it. But looking purely at Embrittlement, the point of this upgrade is to freeze balloons, and then once they are frozen, and also for a little bit after they unfreeze, they take extra damage from all attacks. So anything that hits that balloon deals more damage. So what you want on this is actually to freeze balloons and not actually freeze the same balloons. I mean, in my opinion. So it's good to get larger radius because you can cover a larger radius, but it's not good to get refreeze because you start freezing the same balloons again. And there's no point applying a damage bonus on things that already have the damage bonus. It doesn't stack. You rather hit new balloons. I think you're better off getting larger radius if you're in a position where you can't hit many. But if you're in a loop or something, then enhanced freeze is way better because you're attacking more frequently. Hitting more frequently is just going to hit more in the long run. If you're not in a good loop or something, then it's great to get larger radius. That's actually one that I do, I think, probably more often, barely more often, simply because I often have them in bad positions because I've got other good towers nearby which I want to benefit, rather than actually using the ice tower. So if I'm going for tier 4 or tier 5, I get like larger radius but not refreeze because I don't want it to freeze the same targets because I don't want to stack the damage buff because it doesn't stack. If I'm stopping at ice shards, then it's good to get refreeze because you can actually pop ice shards off your own targets, but you need a damage boost to do that anyway, so it's maybe not so worthwhile. And you can just get 2 ice shards with enhanced freeze, and then they can pop each other's and make ice shards. So Arctic Wind, this one is a really hard choice. Permafrost is great because it slows balloons forever, but it doesn't apply to Moabs, so it's not as great. And it only has a small pierce. It's got much more pierce now, but it can't freeze everything. So oftentimes I just go larger radius because it actually increases the radius of the slowing aura as well, which is actually rather handy. And it also increases the radius of the water that it freezes. So if you place your Arctic Wind next to water, it freezes the water. You can place land monkeys there. If you get larger radius on your Arctic Wind, you can place even more land monkeys in the water next to it because it's freezing a larger radius of water. And that's pretty much all there. I would generally go larger radius. Permafrost can be good if you've got like an excellent position maybe, where stuff comes through loops around the same spot a few times, but there's not many good spots like that. Cryo Cannon, you're pretty much always going to go enhanced freeze with this because Cryo Cannon, especially like Icicles, but the Icicle Impale is a great DPS tower, so attacking faster is great for it. Deep freeze doesn't matter because you're damaging a lot, you're a DPS tower. And also like the balloons you freeze don't apply their spikes to other frozen balloons, so you actually don't want them to stay frozen too long. You want to quickly freeze them, pop other balloons with those spikes, then freeze again, freeze other balloons. Yeah. So it's good to get enhanced freeze. Yeah, I wouldn't really bother with permafrost on this one because yeah, it's DPS breaking stuff up. It's less support. It still supports, but less support. The Glue Gunner. So looking at the Balloon Dissolver and the Balloon Liquefier, these ones struggle to hit many balloons. So you kind of really want to get the glue splatter there because it's a cleanup tower. It's for hitting a lot of children and popping them, and it can't do that job if it can't hit very many. So glue splatter is pretty key there. But if you're going all the way to tier 5 and getting the Balloon Solver, this one has base pierce, and so you don't need the glue splatter anymore. It's actually better to go bottom path because you get stickier glue, which makes it last longer. And I mean, that one doesn't matter. The stronger glue doesn't matter because you're wiping stuff out. No balloons survive, and it doesn't work on Moabs. But the stickier glue does work on Moabs because it lasts longer on Moabs, so it does more damage to Moabs. So you always want to go stickier glue if you're getting the Balloon Solver. But if you're not getting the Balloon Solver, then you always want to get glue splatter. So that's another tricky one. Glue Hose. It's good to get glue soak on glue hose because you're just kind of widespread gluing everything, and then it's good to last a while because you've got other cleanup towers. Generally, if you're using glue hose, it's because your cleanup is not very precise. Like a Super Monkey is very precise cleanup. Like you have a sun avatar, it's going to kind of wipe out everything. A bomb tower is not very precise cleanup. If you've got cluster bombs, it's going to hit and it's going to explode and put lots of bombs everywhere, and you're going to do a lot of damage. But it's not very concentrated damage. It's real spread out. You're gonna hit lots, but you're not gonna hit much on each individual target. So your glue soak is better there because it makes everything stay glued longer, and the glue doesn't like wear off straight away. And your corrosive glue kind of helps a little bit there as well. It's kind of tricky here because if you get corrosive glue, this means your other glue gunners, unless they are Balloon Dissolver, will not apply over the top because glue gunners can only apply over the top of weaker glues, and what's considered weaker glue is less DPS. So I'll talk about that in the next path. So yeah, I mean, if you're slowing them down more than the stickier glue upgrade, this is better with like precise towers like the Super Monkey, like I was saying. So if you're using precise cleanup, then it's probably good to get sticky and stronger. If you're using less precise cleanup, it's probably better to get glue soak. So Moab glue. This one is another interesting one, I guess. If you're getting it purely to slow Moabs, then you want the bigger globs. And there's never really like lots of Moabs, so I feel like most of the time I don't bother getting glue splatter because it attacks fast enough, it can just slowly glue them one by one, and then keep them glued enough, because they move slow as well. They already move slow. This slows them even more. But it depends on the map, though. If it's a harder map, then sometimes I get glue spider. But most of the time, I'm happy just 013. That's pretty good. It'll get them. And there's no point with glue soak or corrosive glue, because you can't soak through a Moab, and corrosive glue is pretty terrible damage against the Moab. It's not, I mean, one damage every now and then is not going to take out a 200 off target. But if you're going up to Relentless glue, which basically means that if you have a balloon glued by your Relentless glue and it's completely popped down to a red, and that red's popped, that red will drop the glue on the track again, and then another balloon can come by and pick that glue up. In this case, you want the glue soak, because it doesn't work without the glue soak, because you have to pop the red balloon at the very bottom while the red balloon still has the glue applied to it before it will actually drop the glue. And a base glue will only soak through 2 layers. So if your ceramic is glued and then you just instantly pop it, it's not going to drop anything. It's pointless. So you need 204 to get this to work. And I mean, if you have yourself under a primary village, the top path village, then it can actually be useful to have a 204. But generally, I don't find myself using this upgrade too much. I'll just go 013 and I'm happy with that, unless I feel like getting super glue. And super glue, yeah, you're going to want glue splatter on super glue, simple as that. But you don't really want super glue unless you're super late game anyway. Sniper Monkey, this one is really simple. This one, it's really straightforward. So if you're going top path, all about the damage. If you need night vision to see camo, like you're in a challenge that requires you to hit camo with your sniper, then you get night vision. But shrapnel shot doesn't really do too much for this path. But you don't want that. You want fast firing always. If you're going to go top path, you want faster firing, because that's way better DPS. And this guy cannot clean up. It just applies, it just attacks one target at a time. It can't clean up that great. So there's no point getting night vision if you're going to go past round 40 on this top part. Yeah, just don't do it. You always, if you're going main Moab, then you can potentially get night vision, because then you can see DDTs. But honestly, by that point, if you're going to go main Moab, you're going to have it under a village, so just get chem detection in the village. And if you're getting cripple Moab, then you definitely want faster firing, unless you're buffing your attack speed with other sources, because you just need high attack speed so you can keep this damage buff applied to everything, because anything that's hit by crippled Moab takes extra damage. So middle path, we're looking at Bouncing Bullet, which pairs with the Shrapnel Shot, and actually does really good cleanup. I think this is a very underrated tower. I've passed around 100 with only 240 snipers and 250 snipers. I've done that with purely snipers. And your Bouncing Bullet and your Shrapnel Shot's pretty trash unless you get damage. Just simple as that. Faster firing is not going to help you there. That's all there is to it. I don't think there's much more to explain. Semi-automatic. Yeah, this is terrible with night vision and shrapnel. You want damage. You need the damage to make your semi-automatic good. Simple as that. There's not too much more to explain there either. Monkey sub. Okay. If you're getting submergence support, you're going to be submerged. Don't bother cross-pathing. Ballistic missile. So the benefit to ballistic missile is advanced intel will allow it to steal camo detection from other towers. So if you want camo detection on your ballistic missile, then this will help you. I don't see when you're going to really need camo detection that badly in your ballistic missile, but it can happen. I guess around 78, maybe. Ballistic missile does really great, clustered group DPS. A few of these can wipe out round 63, no problem. But it's not too great at much else, really, honestly. It does high damage per shot, and it does a massive pierce, but it hits a small area, and it doesn't attack super fast. Your twin guns and your airburst darts, they're not going to benefit the ballistic missile. The only thing that it actually benefits from is advanced intel. Longer range doesn't even benefit it because it's infinite range. So if you're getting your sub to middle path purely for the ballistic missile, then you want advanced intel, I guess, because I guess camera detection's better than not much else. Airburst darts will kind of give you a lot of early game DPS from it though, so you could potentially start out with an airburst darts and then later on upgrade to ballistic missile, which is actually a good strategy sometimes. And but honestly, you can honestly just go 0-5-0 on this tower and you get just as much out of it a lot of the time. It's just if they're cheap upgrades, so you may as well grab them anyway if they help you get to where you want to go. Triple guns, yeah, you want advanced intel. This infinite range is better than like not infinite range. If there's like a daily challenge or something where you're forced to pop lead with your subs, then get a balloon turning reactor. You don't need these heat tips. But if for some reason you're physically incapable of using a balloon turning reactor and you've got triple darts, then I guess your heat tip darts and your triple darts, and these three, I mean, they don't go badly together. They work. It's just advanced intel is way better. It's way better. If your towers are restricted to a tiny area and you can't go outside this tiny area, that's the only time I would use heat tipped. But otherwise, if you can spread out, then advanced intel all the way 100%. It's starting to rain really heavy now, so I think I'm gonna take a break and I'll get back to this later. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope this helps somewhat, and I'll see you around.